I'm Derek, and welcome back to my 2 cents for the discount bin. Now, I know it's been a long time, so let me just remind you. This is a show where I go to a purveyor of DVDs, I scrounge around the discount bin, find something at random, and tell you what I think about it. Now, this show has 3 simple rules. 1, I can't have seen the movie before. 2, the movie can't cost more than $10. And 3, it can't be a mainstream movie. It either has to be straight to DVD, or if it came out in theaters, it had to be a very limited run, something like less than 1,000 theaters. So I went to the discount bin and I found this, the Maneater series triple feature. It looks like a bunch of creature features, which I am up for. I love creature features. So let's see which one we're going to cover today. I think we're going to do Eye of the Beast, because it stars James Van Der Beek. So that should be kind of fun. Alright, let's put it in and see what we got. That was not as much fun as I was hoping. I'm not even going to go into the story, really. I'm just going to tell you, the story's Jaws. Literally, it's page for page a remake of Jaws, except they take it off of Amity Island and move it to Finn Island, which is an island in the middle of Lake Manitoba, I guess, in Canada. Then they switch the shark for a giant freshwater squid. I don't even think that's possible. They say it is possible in the movie, but you know, you have to take everything in movies with a grain of salt. Yeah, so the movie starts off with a couple kids making out in a boat in the middle of the lake, and they get killed by the squid. Expected. Then we meet the law of the land, which is a deputy at the Department of Lakes and Fisheries. That sounds very Canadian to me. Then James Van Der Beek comes in, and he works for the Department of Oceanic Studies or something like that. And he's there to find out why there's no fish in the lake anymore. Basically, everybody on the island is a fisherman, and they sell all their fish to the local fishery, which then cans it. That's the basis of the story. The story goes by. James Van Der Beek, when they find one of the kids who died, he finds some markings on the fiberglass hull, which makes him think it's a squid. And nobody believes him. Even his doctor friends over in Ocean World don't believe him. As the story goes on, more people die. He and the deputy at the fisheries department decide to close off the lake to fishing. No more fishing, no more permits, no more boating, etc. And of course, the townsfolk are all rabble about that. Because townfolk in movies like this are always rabble. Oh yeah, this town also is very racist, because there are Native Americans who live in the town. And they're saying that the Native Americans are the ones who overfished, and that's why everybody's losing their livelihood. Because, yeah, there had to be that extra level so that they can get to the climax. I'll explain later. So after they close the lake, James Van Der Beek's boss says, "You've gone too far. You're representing us, so you're coming home." Most unorthodox. You know, stuff like that. Except Canadian. I'm sorry I keep bringing up the fact that this is based in Canada, but you really can't get away from the fact that it's based in Canada. So after that, he's at a bar drinking, and he learns that the deputy at the Department of Fisheries actually saw the creature when she was younger. It ate her father. I just want to make sure y'all remember that, because I'm going to get to the squid at the end, and there's a few points I want to make. So the main townsperson who was against closing the lake, he and his wife are attacked by the squid. And so he's all gung-ho to go kill this SOB, which, you know, that makes sense. He almost died, his wife almost died. So he gets his ship and they get ready to go. Well, James Van Der Beek decides to do the "we're gonna need a bigger blank" line. I know you're wondering, what do I mean by we're going to need a bigger blank? Well, you know, one of the most iconic lines in Jaws is, we're going to need a bigger boat. That was one of the fun things about Sharknado. I know I'm going on a tangent, but I'll explain why. One of the charming things about Sharknado, don't get me wrong, it's a terrible movie, is that every 5 minutes, while me and my friends were watching it, we said, we're going to need a bigger something. Like, we're going to need a bigger bar stool, we're going to need a bigger car, we're going to need a bigger pool. We were having so much fun with it that we were let down when they finally said, we're going to need a bigger chopper. We were like, oh my god, that was stupid. We were much funnier, we thought. Well, in this movie, they do have a we're going to need a bigger thing, but they change it. James Van Der Beek goes to the house of the Fisheries Department deputy and says, we're going to need 2 boats. I know that it's a different movie, but it's not a different movie. It's literally Jaws all over again, except with a giant squid. So, of course, you correlate the 2 lines, and I just have to say, we're going to need a bigger boat, still the Golden Boy. So they're going to get 2 boats, cast a net between the 2, dredge the lake, bring the squid to the surface, because apparently the ammonia that it uses as buoyancy doesn't work very well when it's at the surface because it's warmer, so it's just going to flail around and die. That's a very thin premise to stretch right there. I don't know, maybe it's true. Maybe they actually did some research. I'm too lazy to. It's like frickin' 5 o'clock in the morning right now. I'm doing this right now because I couldn't go to sleep. The Native American ship goes down. Everybody dies. Then the squid methodically takes one by one the survivors until we're left with 3. The captain of the boat, who was attacked by the squid and decided to go after it, James Van Der Beek, and the deputy from the Fisheries Department, who's becoming his love interest. Anyways, they decide to scratch the net idea. It wasn't going to work, so they take a harpoon and hook it up to the battery and decide to throw it at the squid, and that's going to kill it. Makes sense. They should have thought of that beforehand, but anyway. Finally, the squid comes up, and it's freaking huge. I mean, gigantic. It's bigger than my house. And this is actually where I lose all suspension of disbelief because of how big the squid is. However, the squid, it comes back to the whole premise of the reason James Van Der Beek was brought to the island. He was brought to find out where all the fish went. This squid was so huge, it would have to have been eating at least 300 pounds of fish a day to maintain its size. And this lake, no matter how big, it's a lake. It's not like Hudson Bay or the Atlantic Ocean. There's a limited amount of fish that could have existed in that lake at any given time. So it would have starved itself to death. Given the fact that we're led to believe that the fishery has been open for at least 100 years, given the fact that there's overfishing by the fishery, and then on top of that, this squid had to eat at least 300 pounds of fish a day, it wouldn't have been enough fish to maintain it for many years. We were told that the deputy saw the squid eat her father when she was a child, and she's about 30 in this movie. So it would have literally starved itself to death years ago. And therefore, if there was no fish, the fishery would not have been open anyway. It would have been moved to a place where there was fish, because it's stupid to leave a fishery open for many years not producing anything, because that would have been a giant waste of money on the company's side. So the entire premise of the movie just doesn't work. Well, anyways, they kill the squid. Hey! But they're not done yet. There's one last jump scare where the deputy gets her foot caught in a rope that's attached to the harpoon and gets thrown overboard. Of course, James Van Der Beek saves her in like less than a minute, so that doesn't really go anywhere. And the movie ends with them pulling back into the marina and James Van Der Beek and the deputy talking like they're going to start going out. Aww. Technicals. The writing was bad. It was literally just Jaws. As a creature feature, it did not stand up. There was a mixture of practical and CGI effects, which I appreciate, but they weren't rendered properly. So the squid looked like either a cartoon or a giant rubber hose. The acting was meh. The pacing was slow. It was a slow slog of a movie. It wasn't shot very interestingly. It was very muted. It feels like it was a made-for-TV movie. So yeah, it was very hard to keep your interest on it. In fact, I think I probably checked my email twice while watching this movie, and it's only a 90-minute movie. That tells you how interesting this movie was. So I'm just going to ask y'all, have y'all seen this movie? What are your thoughts about it? If you've seen it and you liked it, if you've seen it and you don't like it, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I don't want to be the only one tooting my own horn here. So, was it a bad investment? I honestly can't tell, because I still got 2 more movies to go through. And if at least one of those movies is good, then at least I know I didn't waste my money. It was a $7 collection, so if one movie is out of 3 is fun to watch, at least that means I got my money's worth, because it was still less than $10, and considering that there's 3 movies for $7, that's actually kind of a bargain if one of them's good. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Eye of the Beast. I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't. But let's see if the other 2 movies are any good. So, thanks for stopping by, thanks for tuning in, and come back next week to see what the discount bin has in store.